If you follow me on this channel, you know that my whole life and business runs through one local folder and Claude. And that's it. But there's one member in our inner circle who stopped me this week during our coaching session. He's a journaler, a real journaler for years. Pen, paper, a notebook he actually carries, and every single week he did the same ritual. He collected his notes, all of them, and on the weekend he sat down and reviewed them, page by page, to make sense of what happened. Then he moved his notes into the system I'm about to show you, and that whole weekly ritual, the thing he'd done for years, just became a waste of time. Overnight. His words during that session, that was a mind shift, and that's a lot. So this video is about note-taking, but really it's about the thing nobody has time for, the weekly review. I'm going to show you why it's dead, what replaces it, and the one piece that makes the whole thing actually work. Let's dive into this. Let me start with how most of us have always done this, because I did it too. You jot things down, a notebook, a notes app, sticky notes, whatever. Ideas, meeting notes, a reference you found, a thought you don't want to lose. It piles up, and then, if you're disciplined, at the end of the week, you go back through all of it and you try to make sense of it. You connect the dots, you decide what matters, you file it somewhere. That's the weekly review. And here's the thing about it. Almost nobody actually does it. Be honest, I never had the time for it either. At the end of the week, I'm freaking exhausted. The last thing I want to do is sit down and start making reflections about my own week now that I have it behind me. I'd rather walk the dog. And when you skip it, all those captured notes just sit there. That weight, you captured them and you never come back. Now, some of us got clever about this. I did. For years, I linked my notes by hand as I went, so I wouldn't have that giant pile at the end of the week. And you've probably seen the poster child for this already. Obsidian. The one with the graph view, that constellation of little dots all connected by lines. If you've watched any note-taking video on YouTube, you know exactly the picture I mean. The whole idea, linking your thinking node by node. Obsidian is the tool everybody knows for it. Now, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really live in Obsidian myself. I ditched it years ago for other tools, because my daily drivers were Tana and then later Heptabase. But it's the exact same move in all three. You take a node, you manually connect it to the other nodes it relates to. So let's say you're writing down meeting notes and there's a person attending the meeting, so I can directly link to that person's node by hand on the fly. And I was good at it. I was fast. We recommended it. We showed how it's done. Connecting nodes on the fly, that was the skill. But that skill, the manual linking, that was the friction the whole time. I just couldn't see it yet, because there was no alternative. And yet it was much better than having the disconnected nodes floating everywhere. So what changed? Well, it started early this year. February is when the old tools actually fell for me. That's when I made those videos. Claude killing Heptabase, Tana, Obsidian, and it's game over for the graph view. But if I'm honest, the tools falling was only the first half. The full click, the moment it really landed that I don't need to link anything by hand anymore, that came over the following weeks. Our co-founder Paco and I have been circling this one idea for a while. All you need is a local folder on your machine. And then one day, it just landed. The moment AI arrived at this level, doing the manual linking became the friction. Think about that. I used to be much more efficient using Tana or Heptabase to connect the nodes myself, and now I would feel stupid sitting there in Tana making those connections by hand when I just need to set it once and the AI does it. Here's the part that matters, and this is the whole video, so stay with me. The AI doesn't magically know where your nodes belong. It knows because of the folder, because of the structure. This is the scaffold, as we call it, my PKA. In there is the concept called My Life. The My Life concept consists of key elements, topics, projects, goals, and habits. These aren't random folders. Each one is a definition. It tells the AI what a key element in my life is, what a topic is, what a project is, what matters to me. So when I throw in a note, the AI reads it against this structure and it knows this is about this key element, this belongs under this topic, this connects to the project. It has the context. Based on this My Life structure, the AI perfectly knows what to extract that's actually meaningful to me and where it goes. That's the unlock, not the AI. The scaffold that gives the AI the context. Without a folder, you just have a smart model guessing. With the folder, you have a system that knows. And this is insane when you sit with it. The tool isn't doing the thinking anymore, the structure is. And this allows me also to switch from Claude to Codex to Gemini and use whatever I want, because the folder is what matters here. Okay, let me just show you what this actually feels like day to day. Because the feeling is the whole point. I capture things all day long. A meeting, a crazy idea in the shower, a person I met, a reference I found somewhere, all of it. And I don't file it. I don't tag it. I don't decide where it goes. I just capture it as a journal entry and I move on. And I press the button on my phone, I just talk. That's the whole capture. I talk to my phone and it lands organized in my local system. It gets transcribed right here on my machine. And Claude files it into the folder where it belongs. No third-party app, no tagging, no manual linking. I said one thing out loud. The AI wrote the journal entry, figured out what it was about and stored it in the right place. I didn't do anything. But in this case, Pen is my journaling agent and he perfectly knows where to store the note, how to connect it with other notes and where to find the information he needs. The point is, I didn't do anything. That's a journal entry. Exactly like our Inner Circle member jotting a line in his paper notebook, except I never have to come back and file it. And here's where it gets good. Everything I'm interested in, I throw in as a journal entry. And it gets stored as a topic. Maybe I never mention it again. It just sits there in the shoebox. But then, 3 months later, something related comes up. I capture that too. The system says, you mentioned this already 3 months ago, here's the connection. And this is the mind-blowing part. Things that I would have forgotten already start to reappear. Serendipity on autopilot. Here's a real one. I actually backfilled all my journal entries from my day one application, from Heptabase, from the previous note-taking apps, all into this local folder. Again, something easy to do nowadays with AI. So now, 4 years ago, back in 2022, Paco and me had our first conversation about how empty the whole productivity world felt back then. That was one of those captured thoughts. And this week, when we launched Incline, our new branding, Paco turned to me and said, this is the dream we had 4 years ago. That's exactly the kind of connection the folder makes. A thought from 4 years ago tied to what we shipped this week, because it was all sitting there the whole time. I could never do that by hand. No human is going back through 3 years of a paper notebook to find that one connection. The AI does it because everything is in the folder, and the folder tells it how everything relates. And when something really resonates, when I want to actually do something with it, I move it into the action side. Writing it down is already the thinking. The moment you capture a thought as a clean entry, your brain has already done the work of structuring it. If it matters, it becomes an action. If it doesn't, it just lives in the folder as context. Either way, I already moved on. I captured and I forgot. Nothing is lost. That feeling, capture and forget, no pile, no dread, that's what I could never get from paper. So now back to the weekly review, the thing our member did every weekend for years. Here's the question. If the AI already knows everything I captured this week and it knows how it all connects, why am I doing the review? Well, I'm not anymore. Instead, the recap is done by the system and it's delivered to me every single Friday. The main insight of my week based on everything the folder knows about me. And not just a list of what I wrote, it connects things across my different key elements. Something from one node talking to something from another. A thread I didn't even notice I was pulling on all week. Let me give you a real example from my actual recap last week. The headline it gave me was, "It has soul. In fact, it has two." And remember that 2022 note from a few minutes ago? The first conversation Paco and me ever had about this? I didn't dig that up myself. My Friday recap drew that line. From a 4-year-old captured thought straight to the brand we shipped that same week with Paco's words right next to it. The dream we had 4 years ago. And one level down, the same recap flagged the number I would have missed. My top video that week was a note-taking video, and it pulled 42% of my new subscribers from just 28% of the views. That's my own system telling me what you are actually asking for. A 4-year-old note and a fresh audience signal on one page. No manual review I ever did would have connected those things. That completely destroys the old process. No more sitting down at the end of an exhausting week trying to remember what happened and force some meaning out of it. The meaning is already there on Friday morning, waiting for me. And it found connections I would have walked right past. This is the part I want you to really feel. The weekly review didn't get faster, it got deleted. And something better took its place. Something no human sitting with a notebook could ever produce. Because it's reading across everything at once. That's the mind shift our member had to. He didn't get a better notebook. He got rid of the ritual entirely. So let me say the thing out loud, because it's a big claim. We used multiple tools for this, all the time, for years. Evernote, Tana, Heptabase, Obsidian, the Graph View, all of it. Notion. I've reviewed every note-taking app on this channel since 2017. And this AI approach, with this folder structure, just killed them all, literally. And here's my real timeline. Tana went first, years ago, when I went all into Heptabase. Then Heptabase itself, I killed it early this year. I even tried Obsidian with Claude for a month in the spring, and by April that was gone too. Rome, Obsidian, Notion, Mem, Tana, Heptabase, all replaced by a plain text folder. And here's why, and this is important because it's not that those tools were bad. Behind every one of them, Evernote, Tana, all of them, there was a database. That's what you're really paying for. The database that stored your notes, filled the fields, made the connections. You couldn't live without a tool because all your information lived inside its database. But now we can create the database ourselves without any technical knowledge. The natural language understands perfectly how to store things correctly, fill the fields, create the connections. So the question becomes, why the heck do I still need tools like Tana or Heptabase? You create your own database, the folder, and you put a nice front end on top, the cockpit. And that's it. You've got everything those tools were doing for you. Except now we have the data, not them, us. Those apps didn't disappear. They just became utility apps. Not so long ago they were core applications. We could not live without them. Now they are a utility. I open once in a while, if at all. That's the whole shift in one sentence. So here's what you got today. The old way, collecting notes and reviewing them by hand every week, breaks because nobody has the time for the review. And the manual linking became the friction. What changed is the scaffold. The folder gives the AI the definition, my life, key elements, topics, projects, so it knows where every node belongs and how it all connects. You capture and you forget. And the weekly review is replaced by a Friday recap the system writes for you, with connections you could never find by hand. The tool was never the point. The structure is the point. The scaffold is what makes the AI actually useful instead of just smart. Let me know in the comments below. Are you still doing a weekly review by hand? Did you already feel it becoming a waste of time? And if you journal on paper, what's the one thing stopping you from making the jump? I'm curious. And if you want the scaffold this all runs on, the folder, the structure, the whole thing, including the cockpit, you can download it for free inside my ICOR. Our co-founder Paco and I are both in there, and this exact conversation, the one that sparked this video, is a full coaching session recording inside there too, if you want to watch the full thing. That's it for this video. I'll catch you up in the next one.